Okay. So what I see here is everything is on the same level depth-wise, and we're not seeing any real opportunity here to use some dramatic introductory kind of staging, epic scene, epic battles, stare down, showdown type of lighting, and that will always be silhouettes. Silhouettes are the best for showdowns. Silhouettes are the best for introductory lighting for a character that's just entered the scene. So for all of those people who think they can just draw something and give it whatever values, and as long as things are placed well, that the story will be told. That's not what it is. There's a lot of cinema in staging, lots and lots of cinema in staging. So I know this is agonizing to watch, but it really is worth it for me to get this lasso. So I'm gonna try to get this lasso here for you guys. Bear with me. I'm almost done, actually. The journey always seems longest when you haven't started it. All right. Throw that in there. And then I'm just going to ASMR to help you guys through this waiting period. I'm not even sure how to ASMR. Is ASMR just like talking gently, or is it like whispering and eating shit? Like that nasty chewing sound. Like, who the fuck wants to listen to that all day? I don't know. Alright. Okay. This is agonizing, I know. It's like watching Peter Griffin go for like a minute. Everyone's just like entranced watching the lasso tool travel across the map like this. Oh my god, is she ever gonna finish? Your lasso hand is so steady. Oh, thank you. Don't jinx me, man. Alright. Whoa, 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 whoa. Alright. No, I don't mean that. Thank you very much. So what I'm going to do, so I don't lose my lasso like a noob, I am going to, oh Jesus, I am going to inverse and then just place that on another layer so I always have my lasso available for this character. So I'm going to just disable that, go here. So he's dark enough as is, and by silhouette you probably think, which is one valid way to create a silhouette, you probably think that you should probably just go ahead and do this. But you really don't have to. You don't have to darken the character. You can leave the character as exposed as you have him here. What you can do is brighten up the background. Now that's one way to make the silhouette happen. So I'm going to get color dodge, and I'm just going to start by creating some of these glows, these glow backs here. So let's see what we can do. Some of these are more purple, more blue. So I'm going to do a little thing like that. So it might be nighttime, but there are still lots of opportunities here to make these floodlights work in your favor and make this silhouette happen, even though it's a nighttime scene. And what I'm going to do up here is just darken ever so slightly using the shadows level on burn tool, just so I get some of that blue back, because dodge and burn like to saturate as they darken or lighten. Saturate and illuminate, or darken and saturate. Okay. Then I'm going to have, in a new layer, I'm going to deselect, and I'm going to just create this glow, this glare backward. So just this, we've separated now units of depth from each other. We have done this to this. So now the character has all this drama, all this intensity, all this staging. So now we can darken this dude, but we have to start by lightening up the background. We start with the light environment always. And that's because the light environment can do a lot for us instead of us just darkening him into a clip art shadow. So I'm just going to choose one of the darkest layers he's got on him and darken. The closer he gets to any light source, that's how we start eclipsing. I'm going to darken the tops near the edges of the canvas. Those really don't need to be that bright. And I want to leave him pretty much intact the closer he gets to the focal point over here. And then I'm going to just darken just a little bit around there. But I'm going to actually do that on a new layer so I can erase away where I need to, which is going to be around the eyes. So I don't really know what this character design is. It's got this cute little lotus design. He's got like this really like death mask kind of face. More of a face that I would give like a shrubbery demon or some kind of swamp demon. I would give them this face. Usually demons that deal with anything mystical or necromancer-ish or something like that don't have faces like this. This is the scarecrow face that typically trope-wise we use on things that are like a scarecrow. Country creatures, country monsters, basic just henchmen, you know, nothing significant, nothing that a final boss has, because it's too basic and it's kind of derpy. This kind of face doesn't show high intelligence, high malice level. It just shows an idiot bad guy who's kind of a henchman who doesn't know what he's doing. So whenever we have these downturned eyes, big puppy dog downturned eyes are showing innocence, but we're getting rid of the nose and we're extending the size of the mouth and we're bringing in those skeletal features, which means not necessarily innocent, but definitely stupid, but also evil and death-like. Not something I would give a final boss. He just seems like he's dumb and he has a lot of power, or he's just been, I don't know, I'm not sure what you were doing with this character. But there's one way to give him a little bit more antagonist dignity, I guess, which is, oh shit, alright, which is just making his mouth glow. Then we're making him look more like a kind of specter, so a kind of a power that doesn't have control of itself either. And that's one way to kind of correct this unusually kind of stupid bad guy here. So you see what I mean by stupid? He just kind of looks like he's just not really connected intellectually, like, to anything around him. Alright, so I'm going to try to give him some kind of glow. And then select that. And go backward before I started that glow. Paste that in. And just see what I can do about making it kind of transition a little bit. Really, apart from these two things, there's really nothing else you can do to kind of salvage this design. I feel like you just made this design pretty randomly. And because it's so random, it's reading as, you know, inconsistent with what the size and the threat level that's coming out of this bad guy. And I'm just going to color correct. I mean, that's one way to do it. Giving him teeth is another way to do it, which I'm going to experiment with now. Shit. So I'm just going to color correct this for the color of the eyes. Pussy. And then I'm gonna deselect this and just try to get some teeth going. Again, he's just gonna look cute-ish with the teeth, but it might help to kind of give him more of a stitched up, kind of less fun face to look at. That's one way to kind of introduce some threat level. Over here. But like apart from that, you really are not working with a lot. You can also, here, let me merge this down. You can also really maximize the illumination here and bring in a new color. Bring in like a green, like some sort of specter green or some sort of blue color. You're bringing in this really mild, almost angelic, golden, kind of like Angemon color. Remember that? So I would just either try to go analogous colors and just can't say analogous without saying anal, and then just kind of do that. But I feel like blue is just used too much, so I'm just going to mess around with the slider and see about a different color. That's kind of bringing in something new, something a little bit more fun. that could be glowing forward into the earth around him, or the air, sorry, around him. So just giving him more of that, like explaining why he looks like a specter, why he looks like the angel of death for Yordles. Something like that. Okay. So color dodge, that's a little bit better. No, it's not. Soft light. If I duplicate it, merge down, duplicate. You know. Okay, so I'm still not entirely convinced with this color. I might move it over here. It's just that you got this purple thing going on, which is fine, but I really think we need to do one more little darkening so that this glowing can, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just do it like this. Just darken him as a whole. So we're really setting up that spotlight. There seems to be like a lot of glow happening around him. You see how where that pink color was? It was just too common a color in the scene. You have to bring in something new. And that green is just not working for me. A specter really just has the color all around him as the green. Maybe this like sky blue. Ooh, okay, I like this color. And sometimes I get really upset and I'm just like, why are we given like only a handful of colors? There's animals that can see all kinds, and I wonder what we would see and what we would do with those colors, but sometimes it doesn't seem so little. Okay, next up is another depth problem you have all over the canvas, which is the darkness level here. So you've got all of this foreground darkness, which is just fine. It's just the right amount. But then you've got like this darkness in the motherfucker. My polygonal. I did not deselect. I did not deselect. I did not. I did not. What the fuck is going on? I did not hit her. Alright, let's try again. You stupid Photoshop. I did... Okay, are you gonna... Why though? But I know what I want, and it's this. I know what I want. Select inverse. Mother effer. It's just like, why do you do these things to me? I don't know what your problem is. Alright, whatever. Do you, Photoshop. Do you. Anyway. Let's try to make sense of this hullabaloo. Okay, what am I doing here? Select inverse. Okay. And then we're no. I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry about this. Okay, and there we go. And then I'm gonna select this little mushroom warrior. And do you see what I mean? How I'm so sorry about this like messy lasso technical problem. It's kind of just throwing off my flow. But okay, so the contrast in the foreground is too similar to the contrast in the background / midground, whatever that fencing is that you thought was as important as a focal point. That fence probably isn't in charge of saving this dimension here and all the mushroom people. That fence really doesn't have such a big role in the plot. So it's kind of okay if the fence doesn't get that much attention. That's how you're supposed to be thinking. Does the fence really need that much contrast? I mean, is it required? No. So we are going to make this fence disappear. Alright, so lighten, opacity down, and just decreasing the contrast. And then selecting inverse again. Ooh, I forgot about, it's okay, it was white. Okay, and then darkening this fella. You can saturate a bit if you want to. Shift things over. But we're just increasing contrast at the same time. So what I'm going to do is just go into adjustments, contrast. So this when I get a messy canvas like this, I'm at a loss. I'm just like I want to take on all of these corrections, but I end up lassoing like a maniac. So it's kind of difficult for me to actually show a decent, you know, setup here. But hopefully this is working to my advantage. All right, so I am going to get a saturated darkness value and throw it in here. And you are showing way too much detail. You need to take it easy. You need to take it easy with your detailing. The reflection of the fence, which is miles away, is visible as if it is right underneath the fence on this tiling, this building tiling, or this mausoleum ceiling, or whatever it is like that much visible. That's not possible. And this cast shadow, where's the sunlight coming from? There is no one cast shadow. There's multiple cast shadows coming off these glowing smoke thingies that seemed like they were light sources. I interpreted them as a light source. If they weren't, then it's far gone now. What you can do is just throw these reflections here. You can throw this kind of reflection in. That's something you can do. See how it gets shiny? And then you can throw this kind of reflection. You can do that. You can show the edge of the stair right here as eclipsing in front of all of these surfaces. We're just trying to separate layers from each other. We're just trying to give the foreground its own value. And you need to decide on what is your focal point. I mean, I just want to darken it all the way up into this and just have both of them just like that. And then just have like some of this stuff showing through, like the translucency. I'm just going to follow my instincts and just show some of this. Alright, so one side of the mushroom, which is the side exposed to the light, is going to get some light along with that. I'm going to just try to do this with an eraser. I'm so sorry about this. This is what happens when I take on a big piece to critique. There's just so much that this artist has done. It's made the lasso impossible. Alright, so I'm just going to choose some areas to illuminate. And then I can erase away at what I feel like needs to be reflective or something like that. I just feel like you're showing too much exposure-wise, detail-wise. You have no control over any of these contrast ladders that you're following. You're just letting everything just climb as it wants to. There's no depth that it's following. And that's bad, okay? Okay. I'm going to just erase away at some of the cloth. Erase away here. Some here for the reflection. And just actually build a mood. I mean, you see, sometimes you just gotta do it. You just gotta go in and you just gotta mess it up. You just gotta throw a big shadow there. I mean, just too much exposure. It wasn't in the it was in the foreground. Period. It was too much exposure. I mean, even this is too light, but that's just for the visibility of the character. Next up, I'm gonna purplify this vest, or this, I'm not sure, this scarf that this specter is wearing, which is too warm. It's just too warm. Its reading is warm compared to all of these. So what I'm going to do is just shift more into these colors here and just throw it on top. All right. And then get some of that blue and just desaturate. Red is like one of the first colors to go at night. Only the purple of it is left behind. It's not really allowed to like sit in this super saturated state if the surrounding landscape, which is the wash that you chose, if that wash is cool. And then I'm going to start blurring. And I need to shrink this layer. Shrink, that's small enough. And I'm going to start blurring these raindrops. These raindrops are lines, and these lines are drawing attention. And even though, yes, the line of vision is between these two characters, we don't need all these extra lines saying, hey, hey, guys, look, they're about to fight. They're about to fight. Hey, guys, we're the rain, and we're showing you they're about to fight. It's okay. We don't need another indicator showing us that they're staring each other down. So this rain is just an atmospheric additive. It's not some sort of role that's again adding to the plot that much. We need to just get rid of it and just show it only along the line of sight where it does show up. So now I'm going to smudge. Not just blurring, but I'm going to smudge away at wherever the rain is just drawing too much attention. I'm also going to blur away at the background. So you don't have any depth rules. You don't have any depth rules in your vocabulary right now, which is why everything is equal exposure all around. Okay. Next up, I'm going to just boost this as a light source just around his eyeballs, the inside of his mouth. And then maybe some of that color is on the floor around this character, just to combine the two or let the two meet. Just like that, somewhere nearby. This character is just still too dang light. I should have just kept it as that silhouette. It's got enough detail in it. So there's just so much going on that I have to moderate, but you'll see in a second in the before and after how worth it is to just darken the character. I get it, the character is important to you, but there are rules. And the rules say that no matter how important your character is, the atmosphere is coming first. Okay, and get a saturated blue. So there's no reason why it should be a dark gray. It can be a saturated shadow color for the character here. This little notch in the ears is completely throwing off the silhouette. I'm just gonna keep it as a basic little notch. I mean non-notch, just the basic ear, and then that notch is just on the side that we don't see. Okay. So last little things that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, the canvas size is also really off. So you've got like this tile canvas, which I've talked about before, and I've explained how they're not really friendly for either a vertical panning for a camera or a horizontal panning. They're just stuck in this really awkward space in between the two. And it's not really helpful. It's not really doing much for the story. This little trench in between each tile on the roof, I'm going to just give it a quick little silhouette equivalent here. The contour line visible on the outside type deal. That way we're bringing in more detail on the front, just like that. And then now what you can do is start framing. So one thing we can do is correct this glow off his eyes and just show that he's got this like, so first let me frame, darken, and I'm just going to frame around the canvas. And what this does is it just kind of zones in on one little instance or relationship or thing that the director really wants the audience to focus on. So I'm going to create like a little pathway here in all of that shadow. That's just drawing attention only to these two and their relationship. Also, it frames the canvas, keeps the eyes from traveling where it doesn't belong. Right, small little shadows doing a lot for the canvas. I'm going to let some of this light come through. I'm going to let some of that light come through. One thing that you could have done is I'm not sure what it would be, if it would be a shadow of this guy off the sunlight behind him. That would be really cool and dramatic. We could try that. If the lasso is picking up your raindrops are too detailed. Like the raindrops are just, again, an atmosphere. They are like a fog that's a bit thicker than a fog. They don't have to be drawn. It's like hair. You can just draw the illusion of the detail. You don't actually have to draw the detail. We can have a bit more light above the character and then just draw where that cast shadow is happening on the ground around him. Do you understand what I'm saying? So he is a silhouette, but only to the character. To us, we're actually seeing where the light source is coming from. So we have these really strong lights on the floor beneath because that's his cast shadow looming over the character, ready to kill him or something like that. So I'm just going to try to make these two follow each other. Choose a saturated surface color. And just throw that. It can be something as simple as that. Or it could be the spotlights coming out of the eyes in the same purple color. Again, what we're trying to do is show that there is a relationship between these two, and we're just filling that empty space between these two characters in this canvas because it's starting to get a little bit boring. We're starting to create islands here of depth. So what I'm going to do is get this purple color, this really strong pink color, and I'm going to just throw it in here. Strengthen it the closer it gets to the character. This is if you want to take it, if you have a flexible narrative. If not, you really can't do much anymore. You have to either rewrite it or something. Then I'm going to go into blur, Gaussian blur. At this point, because now the purple is taking up so much of the screen, I would probably rethink the color that we chose, but I'm just going to lower this opacity, probably raise that brightness and that saturation all the way up for this color here. Cancel. Okay. And then just trying in any way possible to fill up this empty space. And then anywhere where the little ear gets caught in this cast shadow, in this like cast light, we just throw a little bit extra illumination, something really fun. Maybe even some rim light if his hat is fuzzy or his little helmet is fuzzy. Maybe some subsurface scattering in a second. But what we're doing here is we're trying to create a relationship between these two characters, just like that. You can, again, you can just change the color of this, what's coming out of the character, but honestly, I think the pink is just fine. I think the pink brings in what we need. And this color here might be a little bit brighter, a bit more saturated. Just like that. Now you have the attention that you were craving for this foreground character. He is important. But again, it's not a character design. He doesn't require all of the detail and focal power in order to be the main character of the scene. He can be part of a relationship illustrated in an illustration. Oh, it's not your time yet. Relax. So do you guys see what I did today? So can anyone explain what I'm talking about here? Can anyone just summarize what I've covered so far in like a sentence or two? Maybe this ear isn't actually facing all the way. All right. Okay, so any questions at all, Elsa? Whoever wants to ask a question, just make sure you're writing at Istebrak, or else I won't find the question. All right, and just wherever the spotlights are hitting the ground, there's the cast shadow of his little cape. Just wherever these spotlights are hitting the ground, they are just illuminating the ground just a little extra. Okay, so it's not just about the glow and the fact that the background is diffusing. These spotlights coming out of his eyes are reaching something. And a new layer. Grabbing that pink value and just throwing that in there, decreasing that opacity, and then of course blurring, because cast shadows get blurred and light gets weaker the further away we move. So now we have some like real, you know, relationship happening between them. So let's turn all this off, empty. They don't have a correspondence. We got one island of dark value silhouette and one island of dark value silhouette. And then we've got something that kind of creates a relationship between the two. And I'm just going to merge all this and just fuck around with my dodge tool. Just really fuck shit up. I'm sorry about the swears. I get really passionate about dodge tool used well. I'm just going to mess around here. Now it looks like a League of Legends splash, but it's okay. Alright, I'm just gonna darken just a little bit behind him. I do need some of that light behind him just to show there's like a moon behind him or some kind of spaceship glowing. I see you have a spaceship somewhere there. And honestly, the value of it was just so against, you know, so much happening that you really couldn't tell there was a spaceship. So what I'm going to do really quickly is just try to sort out a difference between the value of the spaceship and the rest of the sky around this character. So what I'm going to do that is just grab this, put it there, set it on lighten. Now it looks just fucked up. That's okay. And then I'm going to decrease that. That's going to be the spaceship. And then I'm going to select my old lasso and delete away at all this value I just did here. So now we have a little bit more space value difference, just so that spaceship is a little bit more visible. It's not much of a change at all. And I'm just going to erase away wherever we had some framing. And then blur that. Blur that edge we just designated. So typically I do want this character here to be even darker. So if we can, I'm going to try to select this little dude. I hope his values aren't mixing with anything around him. 30. So I just got a Note 8 and the drawing pen is so amazing. And I heard it's the almost similar technology to what they have in, well, the screen is amazing, really. The pen is pretty standard to what we're used to pen pressure wise. It's just the way the screen kind of just makes these really crispy ass lines. And so they're saying that it's really similar for the Tab S3, so I might just do a quick review on that and my experiences with the brushes on Autodesk. That's going to be fun, I think. I've had a lot of fun just sketching with it and all that. Okay, so I'm going to darken this just a little bit more. So darken and then saturate. So it doesn't have to mean that we're using grayscale just to darken. We can saturate as we darken the foreground. That keeps the foreground interesting if we darken and saturate. So it's not going to be that dark. I'm not going that dark. So here's where it was before. Do you see how dim? And then I'm just going to darken just a little bit more. And I'm just going back and forth, making sure that what I have here works. Alright, so now we've got this nice atmosphere. We've got these really strong distinctions between all the units of the depth in the background. We've got a real strong relationship between these two guys staring each other down. We've kind of helped add to his power. I really don't know what this little gem, why it's so important, but I'm just going to dim it. It's attracting attention away from the character. If you feel like things were too dark here, you shouldn't have chosen a nighttime scene. You were illuminating it like it was daytime, but this was not a daytime scene. You washed it with purple. You were going for this nighttime scene. Or nighttime-esque or dramatic, rainy, dark and stormy night type final showdown or meeting his maker or something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna just show a little bit more of that. See, that really completes the, it's just like this tiny stupid little correction, and it allowed the character to have so much more attention drawn to him. Sometimes framing can be a little bit too much and drown away the character's importance, but just a little bit like that. And you can go ahead, let's do something fun here. You can choose whatever color, as long as you're choosing the right degree of the color. I like the purple, but some people really like blue or turquoise, and that's a definite color you can use. As long as the light source, if the light source is strong enough, you don't have to be concerned about what it does to the, well, what the wash does to it. Okay, if the light source is strong enough. Ooh, purple and turquoise mixing together is really nice. So that's really cool. It starts off kind of cold and then warm, and then it kind of just turns into a different color as it goes down. That's pretty cool. And it might even turn a little white the more down it goes. Whoa, that's not good. White is blue in this case. So that's definitely something. And you can just take this and just move around, fiddle. This one's pretty cool. I like this one. There's just so many combinations that you can't do the warm. You can't have a warm light. You gotta make it really, really bright light. It has to be like laser bright for it to be red. Okay. So I really like this one. I'm just gonna leave it at this one. This one looks cool. Looks like a flying helicopter demon monster zoning in on the good guy, and he's about to get his ass kicked. It might have a little bit more sheen to the sword here, just to show a texture difference. And I'm gonna borrow some of this color here, this atmospheric color that's being spewed. And I'm not looking at the comment section just yet. I will take a look at it in a second. And I'm just showing this little sword glowing back. Oh, in fact, what am I saying? This sword is all the way in the thingamajiggy, in the cast shadow. And then all of this is bag lasso work. So I'm just gonna, I have been like missing these kinds of paint overs because we haven't done something this extensive in a while. But I know that every time I sign up for one of these, I end up lassoing for like, how long have I been streaming already? Like, I don't know. Let me see. For 42 minutes. Oh my God, of me just babbling about different tools I'm using. So that's why I try to avoid these, but honestly, it's really fun when you actually finish up and you get to see the before and after. And it shows that, yes, it takes time, or it takes time, but it doesn't mean that it's not rewarding. And every single step was done with your supervision, you guys. So you know exactly what's going into these, what correction I made, what setting I used, and how it's all just a matter of layering. I'm going to make that glare a little bit stronger. Nope, that's a bit too strong, but it's okay. Okay, Photoshop top secret for practical knowledge and advice, like Istebrak does with drawing. Lynda.com for theories and features learning. What? Photoshop top secret and device, like Istebrak does with drawing. Is that a joke, or should I be deleting that? All right. So let's see. Istebrak wields a lasso better than Wonder Woman. At Istebrak, you can fashion a silhouette not just by darkening the subject, but by lightening the background. That's one thing that I did good. That's a good lesson. What else was done? Couldn't you just have some of the eye color reflecting off his head as a means of communicating the connection? What do you mean? Always find a focal point and use the background elements to guide the viewer and reinform the point. Exactly. Not everything has an equal level of focal point, an equal level of sharpening and focus. With this piece has displayed that you must control your colors and decide where the focal points are. She also displayed that you must decide the depth of a piece. Exactly. So the landscape, what's in front of what's in the foreground, what's not in the foreground. So I'm going to go ahead and just merge this down. If you want to add more detail, you can add the size of the tooth, like the pyramid side. I'm going to lose this lasso. God help me. And we're going into the background and taking a look at where you had it before. All right. So you had dark scenes, but glowing smoke, but an alien ship in the background. Everything seems like it was etched in stone. It doesn't seem like this is a living, breathing world where two characters are having a relationship. You don't have to have everything so visible and details so overexposed. Treat them as singular characters in an environment so you can create a real event. You can create something really crazy. And this is what we did. We added an atmosphere. We added a world. And that's it. That's what League of Legends splashes do. Just a bunch of soft brush and lasso tool and setting up depth units. It's not some sort of super spectacular, impossible to attain skill. It's just a series of levels and like systematic separation of depth rules from each other. No, rim light is a light source coming from behind the subject. Fresnel is to do with the angle of incidence. Why are the eyes red and the beam blue? I missed something. No, I don't know, just some sort of magic that I added. It's not anything explained. There is blue coming out of the eyeball, but the pupil, sorry, is blue and the iris is blue, but maybe the cornea or whatever that white stuff is purple. Just to add a unit. That's like the anatomy color, and then you've got the magic color. Simple. It doesn't have to be explained. Ista doesn't miss me. Popsicle. I'm sorry. I don't know every single name that visits me. I'm so sorry. I wish I did. Why are the eyes red? I read that. Is Nia 5 doing an ad? Tommy, can you take care of that for me? Istebrak, make the important part, the character, stand out and detail them out and put as much contrast in the background and non-important parts. That's not really what I said. Show relationship between focal story elements. That's good. But what did I do to this character? So, Antares is probably going to answer it. So which one treats the character more as important? This one or this one? And which of these is this character front and center? And which of these is the character the most important? It's this one. I'm going to answer it because I can't wait. Because this one has all the exposure. It has all the details. It can see where the cape is. But that does not mean you throw the rules of depth out of the way. The world came first. The depth came first. And that's how you end up creating impact in your work like this. You have all these other chances here to mess around and add some more. You can add some like really twisted, twisted looking cathedral tops, or I don't know, something else just to add. Maybe like some weird things are popping out of the ground over here. It's like he's like changing the earth, and then you have another set of depth changes over here. So this one gets this one gets let's start at 50. This one gets 1, 2. This one gets 1. This one gets 3, and this one gets 1. And now you have three levels again between some other unit in here to represent the depth even further. So this one's closer, middle ground, and then in the distance. Okay? Of course, you have to have solid objects. You can't just have a normal. You gotta have like actual solid values. This one is right there, but not quite in front. Just like that. This is not final draft. This is how you would plan it out in the thumbnail stage when you have nothing but clip art. This is not how that should look in the final stages, but I still feel like all of this is empty. But if you made this guy a little bit closer, You know, closed off the canvas just a little bit more, made it a little bit more vertical. I'm not sure what it's either you have a horizontal or a vertical canvas. It's really not good for the health of the canvas and the health of the viewer's line of sight to just have a tile canvas like this. In pieces like this, I like how you show the potential of just raw knowledge rather than redrawing. What do you mean? Like redesigning the character? Value separation for depth. Foreground, midground, background. Hierarchy of importance for characters. Good job. That's good. I like that. And that one. That doesn't help. Oh, okay. I think they're replying to someone who requested a Photoshop tutorial. Okay, okay. I love you too, John. Alright, so I'm just going to go on to the next one, but I want to give you different options for the, what's it called, but I have to move on. Alright, so any more questions at all? Stop bragging about your riches. Some of us are unfortunately poor. Goodness, learn some manners. This is about the Note 8. I have never bought a new phone in my entire life. I've always bought refurbished. Like on my current phone, before I had this, before I bought it yesterday, was a Samsung S5. Like I was dealing with that. Alright? I was dealing with Skype crashes every time I tried to reply to a student. I was like, damn it, this is time I got a good phone. And it's just beautiful. I recommend it if you guys are willing to, you know, buy. Alright, for this one, it's a bit of a gesture thing. You're kind of thrown off. She's sitting like she's some sort of shaman in like a shaman circle. She's not really like having this cute moment with this little butterfly, and I feel like she would if she had this kind of, no, it's time for my blocking brush. Enough bullshit with the soft brush. No more polishing. I'm never doing that to myself ever again. I'm not doing that anymore. Ever again with that spectre piece we just looked at. No, I'll do it again. It's okay. So she's having like a bit of a girly raised shoulder over here as well. Girly little raised shoulder. Haunch shoulder just speaks more manly. And honestly, in this day and age, people just use that excuse now because, like, good for them. They've got like this whole movement that allows them to mix stuff and not really follow tropes. But really, you're not doing much for how she seems like she's flirting with this little fairy. And even when you're trying to narrate visually a man flirting with a woman, he kind of messes around with his shoulders, gets a little shy. It's not necessarily a feminine thing. We kind of just revert into ourselves. We're too shy to flirt. You know, self-confidence and all that. But here it's not really that intense a flirt. It's just this character kind of having a moment with the, that's a little bit of light coming through, with the little fairy. Okay, so she has a bit more of a flirtatious, curious, feminine, chilling kind of gesture. You can keep the legs the same. You can keep this the same, which is pretty masculine and sporty of her to sit like that. I'm not sure what you were doing showing all this extra shirt. That's not visible. Unless our torsos are wider and unless our torsos are like this and our legs are like that. Then of course if we're sitting down like this, then our torsos will show over even if the leg is going up. No. And if she has that kind of shirt, she's just sitting in a way where that shirt wouldn't billow in that way. I'm just going to make her seem a little less bulky, even though she is in cargo pants. She should still have a length to her instead of a width to her gesture. And this goes without saying, this is what happens when students try gestures without ever having gesture practice or enough gesture practice. Okay, maybe her hand is just back here. So she's got sporty on one side, staff wielding ass kicker on one side, and gentle, feminine, lean, flirtatious on another side. Okay? So you've just done a lot. Now this kind of like, she seems like she's about to sit up and kind of like get on her knees and try to catch it. And then over here, the sun is yellow, but the hair is perfectly blue and intact. Hair that is being affected by the presence of a yellow sun, which is hair that is blue, turns into a color. What is the color? What is the color we start seeing when yellow of the sun sits on the blue of the hair? Can anyone answer that? The shadows are a bit dark, yeah, for the light environment. I was going to talk about that in a second. And you can leave them this dark if you want to. You can have that kind of contrast. It's storybook, so you kind of get away with it. But as long as your shadows are sharp enough. But they're soft and you have high contrast, it's just not working. So you're going to have to choose one. Soft shadows and lighter values, or sharp shadows and darker values. Green, excellent. But do we just bring in green? Do I do this? Is this what I'm doing? Okay, I'm going to just leave it like this. Thanks, guys. That really helped. All right, I'm just going to move on to something else. So what else? All right, so then we're going to work on the cast shadows over here. Is it really green? Is it? No. Turquoise? I think they're trying to spell turquoise. Turquoise. Right, so I'm just sharp. I'm gonna leave it green. Okay, guys? I'm just gonna leave it green. Okay, so we've got a cast shadow. That was really nice. Green hair just sitting right there. That's so good. That's what my students told me to do. I'm just gonna have to listen to them. Alright, so I'm making some cast shadows happen over here. It's fine, continue. That looks perfect. Continue, please. So I'm just casting some sharp cast shadows sitting on the floor over here. They are a little bit dark, as Tommy said, definitely. Turquoise. You guys are bad. A warmer blue? Exactly. So that means that we have this color over here. This color. That's where you had it. But we are warming up the blue. So that means we are pushing it to green, which means it becomes turquoise. Okay. So instead of just solid blue, we have a little bit more green in there. And then we can just set that on top, lower that opacity, and have a bit more green present instead of just a solid blue. Actually, color layer works very off, so I'm going to have to exaggerate this just a bit more. There we go. You get away with it for the skin, it's good. The shirt, the yellow shirt is good. Or this red shirt or whatever it is fine. But the pants, the color of the pants is just, it's hard to detect what color it is. Is it a dark purple? Is it black? Is it a gray with some wash on it? So that's something else for you to do. And there's a cast shadow off the shirt onto the neck, just like that. It can be a little bit more diffused because it's skin. Skin is very reflective. And there's a cast shadow of her little hair blurb. Hair blob. I have hair blobs in over all my character. I just think they're so nice. Little hair blob there. Little hair blob there. It's very Miyazaki, especially animating them is really fun. Some more of that. Maybe a hair blob over here. Just like so. This yellow is, it should be very, very strong, it seems like a gold or some sort of like metallic. So I'm gonna, by the way, I forgot to tell everyone this. I stutter now. My medicine makes me stutter. I'm like constantly stuttering. Yesterday I was on the phone with this doctor and I just kept fucking stuttering. So I'm sorry if I stutter like a maniac now. I can't help it. Okay, I'm bringing in some of that universal yellowish, whitish kind of color here. So it seems a bit more appropriate. And then I'm just going to throw like a yellow white on top just to get the color of the staff back. Hair boobs? Hair blobs. I think this is an improvement. It's definitely an improvement now. The blue sky going all the way, it just seems like you're using the hill as a chance to not have to, it being on a hill as a chance to not have to draw the depth of the background. It's so easy to just add in fading green hills into the background. So before, after, just some gesture changes, color balance, sharpening the cast shadows beneath her. Exactly. So do you see how much more natural the gesture looks? It's not some sort of forced forward haunch that kind of belongs to a big shaman lady with big boobies like the Simpsons movie, or just like a big shaman guy who's very masculine and very big and very 60 years old. All right. This one, the breasts are just in completely different directions. One is looking that way, one is looking away. So I'm going to start by balancing them on a line, and then just showing you how, if, you know, breasts are natural, they do not have muscular, even when you're perfectly muscular, let's say you're a really fit lady, your boobies are still going to jiggle. And that's because the boob density is different. It's a different composition biologically than muscles are. So you can't have them like this, convex. They have to be a little bit more droopy. So you've got a C shape and another C shape to show that gravity behaves very differently. And that's why I always say gravity is very different. It affects gestures a great deal because you've got different material types. So you see how dense and in different directions they were. It just looks like a bad boob job. And then we have the difference between bone and fat. The gesture is also like a little bit wonky. She seems like she's standing up and it's just one frame of the standing up gesture. And that's fine. She seems like she just stood up, you know, in like this meeting. And she like wielded her weapon because some guy told her, hey, you know, you could be putting on some clothes. You don't have to sit here naked. She's like, excuse me? And then it was a brawl because he thought he could tell her what do. All right, one side of the belly button is going to get more light than the other. And then you've got all these lines here, and it just doesn't work like that around the belly. The belly is very mushy, very squishy. That means that we don't have geometric edges as much as we do with areas that have bone structure jutting out. So your form study, your blob studies are very off. You've got either light or dark, and that's it. I don't see any radial shading. So you as a student have a lot left to cover, but you're taking on the responsibility, the illustration responsibility of a person who doesn't have much to study left. Well, why? Because it's fun, yeah, to illustrate. I understand that. But you're only going to make a painting that's going to fail. Go ahead and try it. I say try it. Try the masterpiece, but remember that it's not going to be successful if you don't have enough form studies behind you. When you try this, you know, masterpieces are good for revealing to us what we have left to cover. And when you're done with this, then you can go back and attempt this illustration again, or save this illustration for when you've studied the breasts in a separate canvas for a couple days, and studied the face is wonderful. But I feel like you bit a little bit more than you could chew with this one. I'm just trying to separate values. This breast was too dark. Then you've got the cast shadow of this breast on this one. And then you've got half of the belly being in light, and the other half just catching some light like that. But it really wouldn't, like there's dipping, but it really wouldn't just get this dark. So you've got like a lot of these off, cell-shaded, high contrast, really, really charcoal-y imitation. And if you're saying you're trying to imitate charcoal, you can still have varied levels of shadow and grays in charcoal. It doesn't mean that you only have black and white. That's not what charcoal means. It just means it's a different material, but we can still make grays happen with charcoal. So try to understand how to create a value for each elevation in the contours. Try to learn how to designate a value per elevation, and that is very, very advanced. Only if you try it without practicing it, I guess I could say. Radial shading is advanced. For this piece, I'm not sure what's happening around the head. Whether or not it's a character design setup, we should still try to bring in some detail around the head. I've desaturated the background to a gray completely. And what that's revealed to us is you actually don't really have a color to this guy. You probably thought you were having a blue color, but you really didn't. And that blue that you lacked here for this dude was made up with the background. So just leave the background out of it, because the character is not going to always have this color in the background. Design the character without the background value on him. Just without a background color. Just leave it as a solid value. All right, so you had like this intense level of just grayness about this character, and then you had this really strong light source in the light environment color, which was blue. And you thought that you had enough color in the image. No, you just had a gray guy. So if you were assigned to draw a blue ghost knight, you thought you did, you take it over for review, and they'll gray out the background and just tell you, hey, this is not enough blue. You thought it was enough because you had this unnecessary color in the background, which has nothing to do with the character design. So character design setups, make it gray. Just that's it. Let go. Make it gray. I'm trying to figure out what to do with this, what to do with all of this red you have here. It's really, really unwelcome because it's too orange. You need it to be a little bit either desaturated and rotting. I'm really not sure what's going on over here. Is it a skeleton? But I'm just going to cool it down. Desaturate it and then cool it down. So now he does have that blueness to him. I'm also going to desaturate around anywhere where we have light touching, because he seems to be reflective in some areas. And that means that reflective surfaces cast the color of the nearby light source. And I'm going to make the background lighter because he's got a lot of brightness and reflectivity on his armor, which means there is a bright light source nearby. So we've got, march down, we've got before, after. So one is a little bit more neat, has the right level of contrast, a little bit more clean presentation. The blue in the background was not necessary. If you needed blue, you had to focus that blue on the character. You can't just throw it into the background to take care of the need for blue. You're designing a character. You want him to be used in a game or something like that. I think you had like these glows here. Let me just try to get those glows back. No, I'm not sure what is going on around the head. If the head is missing in a character, what do you do? Does anyone have this answer? When something that we're used to having as the focal point is missing, what happens next? What happens after that? So if something is glowing like an ember, then you are allowed to throw it into warms. If it's a light source in and of itself. It's like he's got like hellfire inside his head or something. Did I deselect? Yeah, I did. So I'm just going to show where some of that glow is. And then burn with shadows. Kind of just get us what we need. And then black. So just like some sort of magma, lava type deal. If you need to put color in the background to get the character to read well, you need to focus that color on the actual character. Exactly. So I'm just throwing some black on the sides here. Just to bring in another color. You had a lot of warm red that you thought you could be using. And I'm just bringing that back in, but as a light source, so it's appropriate. There's a head, though. That's not a head. That's a mutation. That's not a head. Where's the other eye? Where's the nose? Where are the 6 dark spots? Even if it's a skull, we've got something to indicate there is a recognizable human trend in like the whatever's happening, something recognizable. No, it's not a head. No. You lose the connection with the audience of the piece if you remove familiarity. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So what do we do next to try to make up for this lack of silhouette, this lack of head, neck, shoulder? You've kind of just like made it seem like he's just losing his size or losing something. If you did have a head and it was supposed to be some kind of skeleton, buddy, you needed, honey, you needed to make it a lot bigger. Okay? And you needed the other side of that skull ASAP. Stat. You needed 2 shots of no, shut up, Istebrak. Alright, so you got this, you got some teeth. Like a derpy little smile, and then you've got some of it. You can do this if you want to. Okay? That's a head. So there. 40. Damn it! Okay. Zoom out, and then illuminate. If you wanted to, if you had to, you can do this. But it was just where you had it before. It was like, he's too really shy. He's like, oh, I'm just, I know it's my turn to be all, you know, I gotta show my weapons and my skills, but I'm just really shy. You know, he seemed like he was just tucking his head in, really, really scared, hiding behind his shield. So that's how I was reading it. And then you've got like the smoke scarf over here, which you need to show as transparent. You can't have it have the same degree of shadow as everything else around it. Color. That means it can't have like these. Shit. Darkness and highlight levels similar to the armor, because the armor in this case is an opaque object. It's an actual object compared to what you've got going on with the character's scarf, this smokeness that's coming out of him. Smoke it. Alright, so I'm just gonna make this a little bit more messed up. Use my little cloudy brush here to give it some texture. Just show it as billowing behind him, kind of deal. And then I'm going to go, before I merged it down, do that, and then erase away wherever I lost some shadow. Okay, almost done, I promise. It's been a long class today, but I think it's been good classes. Whoops. It's been a good class, I mean. And then I'm just gonna clean up this outline over here. We don't need the outline, we just need the darkest value and the furthermost displaced part of the skeletons compared to the light. We don't need. And I can add detail here, you know, along the socket. You can work on the mouth. I know I just threw something together. You can work on that if you want to. Okay, so I hope that's helping you kind of figure out why it wasn't reading. It was definitely difficult to read what was happening here. I'm just gonna throw in some super highlights along the armor. His hand is really tiny. I'm gonna just enlarge it. Bloop. Make him look a little bit more manly, you know. Cancel, and then you've got the reflectivity of the sword, which I'm not really sure, I mean, how you're interpreting this. Where's the light source coming from? So you didn't differentiate between textures. Your presentation and your light environment color threw off the presentation of the character's texture and color as compared to the environment around it. Also, it's not an illustration, so it's not an actual light environment that we're concerned with. We're just concerned with the character, so it's not an illustration. I'm just bring in that super white color for the reflectivity of this sword, which I'm just going to edit so it looks a little bit more like a fang than... I'm not really sure what the shape is you used here for the sword. Probably because I changed the hand. I really don't like the red. I might make it yellow. So I'm just going to get a color layer, get the soft brush, and then just make that baby yellow. That might match a little bit better. I'm going to let some of the red sit through. That might match a little bit better with all the blue. Yep. Duplicate. No, I don't need to duplicate. Merge down. I'm just going to want a quick dodge tool around the head and then just sharpen around the head so it goes back to being important. We're going to do a before and after. So before, shy little head, very shy. And that furry, smoky hell smoke that was coming out of his skull was reading as opaque, like it was actual, really pretty dress fabric. Let me fix that. We made it more of a texture of a smoke or a fog or something like that, something translucent. And then we made the head a little bit more visible. You can make some crazy glows come out of his face. You can grayscale the bottom half of his dress, so the saturation always goes back up to him. All right, let's read some questions. Istebrak, I don't understand what you mean when we say this is not an illustration. Illustration means this is a character design illustration. Illustration is something that we use to refer to full-on background, light environment. It's a whole world illustration, like a book cover. So someone who is an illustrator isn't just, there's a concept artist and then there's the illustrator. I know that seems like a little bit of an extended kind of like a distinction between the two, but it really is useful to use this distinction. A character artist really isn't responsible with creating a world. An illustrator is. What else would you call them? You know, like you could call them environment artist. But usually environment artists don't come with the knowledge of painting a portrait. Usually if I find great environment artists, their portraits are always lacking or their gestures are always lacking. But an illustrator has everything under wraps. And I feel like that's like an earned title. Concept is just you're capable of sketching stuff really quickly, putting together ideas, and then just really quickly rushing through and setting up some kind of topical detailing or texture to complete the pitch of the concept. But an illustrator goes on to the final draft and completes it: world, background, levels of depth, illustration, light environment, illustrating the light environment, glows, glare, fog, tiny little beads of rain on the character's weathered face. I mean, it's all intense. It's all in illustration. Okay, but you weren't responsible for that. Why'd you make the background blue? Just for design's sake? You're not, again, no. Leave it as a gray background. It's all about the character for a design. Imagine you were creating this for Dota. Do we really give a crap what the background color is? It's always going to change depending on where the character floats around the map. So why are you setting up as blue? Is he like always having this blue fog follow him? No. So for good, clean character design pitch layouts or character design turnaround layouts, or you just want to keep the background either white or gray, and that's it. It has nothing to do with the character, so there's no reason to designate a color for it. No, we don't. Not 6 dark spots. It's dark spots or light spots if it's a glowing skull, but no, you're not using that anymore because it then behaves as a light source. Light source throws off all the other rules. Can one balance exaggeration in form so that it reads and not falls flat versus a form that looks like a caricature cartoon? Can one balance exaggeration in form so that it reads and not falls flat versus form that looks like a caricature or cartoon? Wait, are you exaggerating it? Why is it versus the character in the cartoon? You're exaggerating a long character in cartoon trope. So yes, you can exaggerate, especially for game design like this guy. You can exaggerate it. You can look at his shoulder armor, look at his shield. This is all unrealistic, but it's good because we need this kind of read for zoom out. With the game, the player will always be zoomed out, so we need these exaggerated units here to make the silhouette read a little bit more. So yeah, you can do that. I'm not sure what you mean by form. Do you mean like a gesture? I found that most beautiful models on Instagram have overblown values and are impossible to use as a ref. Is there a way to copy their beauty into some place without trying to use the values? Yeah, you can sketch it, Daniel. You can sketch along the face proportions. Concerning audience reading the head on characters, what is it? What if it is an angle where half of it doesn't show on like a dog? Or does the entire piece need to change? When you're doing a character design layout, you don't choose the crappiest angle that you can use as excuse for why you didn't show a proper silhouette. Okay, you don't just set it up in such a way where it's not expected of you to provide good anatomy between shoulder and head. When you're doing a character design layout, you're using the best angle. Through quarter view and front view and side view are the best angles for a character design layout. This one is usually the best one because it kind of shows some of the back, shows the front, shows the side. So through quarter view, full is usually the most popular cut type for character design. Also, it lets you show more 3 dimensions, like you see in the side of the cube, whereas front view you just see a flat ironed out version. I'm into the streaming community, but what are the 6 dark spots? 2 pupils, 2 nostrils, and the 2 corners of the mouth, or the whole cavity of the mouth? Some water. Don't worry, I'm fine. If you need to put color in the background to get the character to read well, you need to focus that color on the actual character. Exactly. Exactly. I was going to sleep and try to close everything to start a Photoshop window. I tried to close down my Photoshop. Good night, Sandra. That's it for today, everyone. So one really important announcement. The Portrait Studio sale is over on Monday. So it's going to be the last day. The sale's been going since last Monday. You're very welcome. Everyone who's thanked for the sale, you're very, very welcome. I hope it's helped you guys out. The update is coming very soon. It's just done. We're just beta testing now and making sure there are no bugs. There's nothing weird when we're sending out these updates, because every single copy out there, there's a lot, are going to be updated. So we're trying to see if anything's going to crash server-wise or something like that. A lot of people have complained about installation issues. Please remember to just disable your firewall just temporarily until it's done installing. Also, please make sure you're using a mouse to run Portrait Studio as you would use a mouse to, use like ZBrush, or, well, obviously you need a tablet for ZBrush, but Maya or something like that. Don't just use a trackpad on a keyboard. There's like hundreds and hundreds of different models and types for trackpads. It's impossible for us to program along all of those and make it compatible with every single manufacturer's hardware with trackpads. Do not use them. Mice are like $5 in Walmart, or the really basic wire mouse or something like that. So Portrait Studio sale is going to be over on the 23rd. Please remember that. This is all for you guys. I'm not going to release another sale like this for a while. There might be a sale in Christmas, but nothing as close as low as this sale has. And the character design challenge is due on the 31st on Halloween. It is a design challenge that is based on really just staying as creative as possible. My mods and I will be critiquing them on mic on the Tuesday the 31st, okay? So good luck everyone with all your work, and make sure that you're not uploading single sketches on this wall. The link is on the Google Plus icon right over here. And then we have, just join, follow the rules, and make sure that you're not breaking the rules in the first time you post, okay? A lot of people do that. I am not ignoring you, Antares. I just don't think you need critiques, man. You're really good. I will let you guys go. Good night, everyone. See you guys on Tuesday. Bye.